What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. Quentin, JP, Caleb. Fellas, we got something to talk about. Finally.
Real NFL
Finally.
news.
No more speculation. We finally have something concrete.
Man,
we have made it through the wilderness.
Yeah.
Bread has finally dropped. Take it away, guys.
Man, Quentin Williams got his contract. And that's everything was just, it was just teetering on that deal right there. And we're probably going to have a difference of opinion on this show like we do, but that's okay. Do I think he's worth the money? Yeah. Fucking great player. 25 years old. I mean, at prime is not even a word to use. He's like at the beginning of his prime.
Yeah.
I mean, he's there. So, that's a fat contract. Mm-hmm. Now, question. We know Chris Jones is signing, but for what? Because we got to look at it from this perspective. And I know everybody's going to say, but it's Chris Jones, but he's also 29 years old. So let's consider his comment, first of all, that he doesn't want to be the highest paid guy on the planet. He just wants to be, in that mix.
Right.
So I don't know if he's going to surpass that contract. He may match it. He may. I just don't see Brett Veach giving a 29-year-old guy $96 million. I could be wrong, but I do know that the signing is supposed to happen either Friday or Monday, but for Chris Jones. But I don't know numbers. So, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, let me just run through the numbers real quick so everybody has an idea in case you didn't hear the specific numbers when they came out. So Quentin Williams, he becomes the second highest paid defensive tackle with $24 million is his average per year. That puts him $500,000 more than the Titans' Jeffrey Simmons. His $66 million guaranteed is $1 million in front of Aaron Donald. There was still a notable gap between Williams and Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's is still sitting at a whopping $31.7 million a year. So there is a good-sized gap that if Chris Jones becomes the second paid guy, there's still a ton of wiggle room. So it is the second highest paid in NFL history, as well as the most a defensive tackle has ever gotten in fully guaranteed. So it's a fat contract for 4 years.
Huge. It's huge.
Good for him. You're absolutely right, JP. He's a guy that's entering his prime. He is that second contract, one of those guys where it's contract years undefeated, and he stepped up. He earned his first All-Pro and Pro Bowl nod in 2022, and he showed that he's an effective pass rusher from the defensive tackle spot, right? He got 12 sacks last year, which is 2 less than he had gotten his entire career up to that point. So, stepped up and had a big year. So good for him.
Yeah. I mean, he deserved it. I mean, now will he continue on that pace? Because like you said, contract years undefeated. It was for Dee Ford as well. And where did he end up? But that's just something you have to think about. What do you got, Caleb? What do you think?
So when I look at the situation, I notice a couple of different things. Number one, Quentin Williams deserves his money. I agree with you guys there. And when I look at that and look at the issues that goes on with Chris Jones, I'm like, well, here's the issue you come down to. And you guys have brought this up previously. When we look at it, we notice that Chris Jones is 29. Does he deserve the money or does he not? Chris Jones has arguably been a top defensive player in the league for the last 3 to 4 seasons. Since Mahomes era, even you could say before then, when Alex Smith that 1 year. Chris Jones has done very, very well. If we look at his stats and different things like that, he was averaging at least since 2017, at least 6.5 sacks or more every single season. 2018 and 2022 is when he had both 15.5 sacks. Looking at, we're seeing a very steady progression. The issue is this: do they want him to do what they want to pay him all the money? I personally say yes, because I'd rather lose a Juan Thornhill, a Tyrann Mathieu, anyone else rather than Chris Jones. Chris Jones is considered to be the anchor of the defense. The things he has done has transcended this defense. If you guys remember, 2018 season where the Chiefs were dead last, Chris Jones had 15.5 sacks. He was one of the lone bright spots the Chiefs have in the defense, and he was able to transition from the 3-4 to the 4-3. So it's showing he's very flexible. Plus, he can play on multiple spots on the defense line. And since he can play on multiple spots on the defense line, that has done nothing but help solidify himself as one of the great defensive players. Yes, Aaron Donald has been in front of him the last couple of years, but you can make the argument. You can make the argument if a couple of things went Chris Jones' way, he could be considered to be the best defensive player of the year. And if Aaron Donald were to retire the next year or two, Chris Jones would, I believe, personally assume that spot. That's why I believe you have to pay him. Anyone else, you can kind of nickel and dime and try to figure out how ways to get around it. This is something you have to do. And yeah, it's not great due to the contract Quentin Williams got, well deserved to him. But for a top player like Chris Jones, who's had a pretty good playing career and an injuries history that's been relatively good, he's had some issues. This is a no-brainer for the Chiefs, and I don't see him going anywhere else.
I agree with you. I don't know. My only thought is Brett Veach, and I know how he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
In his mindset, he sees age, and he also sees, just how everybody else is paid in the league and the gap between like an Aaron Donald, Quentin Williams, and then.
But you can make the argument that Chris Jones is playing not on an Aaron Donald level, but right underneath him. And any team, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers, any team would want a little bit less of a Aaron Donald or a little bit more of a Chris Jones.
I absolutely agree with you. I just don't know if Veach
like
will do. I just don't know if he would match that guaranteed money. He may match the guarantee or even go above the guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if he'll match the total contract number.
Well,
now,
then
if that's okay for Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually better for him.
Yeah.
But
the issue is if we're going to trade him, I mean, a prime example is whenever the 49ers had DeForest Buckner when the Chiefs played against the 49ers Super Bowl. He had a good season, but they traded him to the Colts, got back a first-round pick, and found him replaced from the draft, Kinlaw from South Carolina. The Chiefs are past the draft, so I don't know if it's something they want to do, but I feel like it's kind of too little too late to get a trade going, in my opinion, personally. You should have had that replacement because there's not another Chris Jones or someone that can reach the production level like Kinlaw has done for the 49ers, similar to what Buckner used to do.
Well, when you have a defensive tackle that puts up defensive edge sack numbers and pressures for that matter, yeah, you're going to want to keep a guy like that around. I just feel like Veach is one of those guys that we've seen what he's done in the past with people, and it comes to their contracts. I know that he had his choice, during the Tyreek Hill trade, but he made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to trade. From what I understand, the contract's supposed to either be signed tomorrow or Monday. So for Chris Jones, now what the numbers are going to be, I have absolutely no idea. I just know it's supposed to be done, and that's what they were waiting on. Look, man, it's very simple. Mm-hmm. That wasn't going to. How should I put this? This would have been done a long time ago if the talks of Quentin Johnston's contract coming or them signing him to an extension didn't show up when it did. So when those talks started earlier in the offseason that Quentin Johnston was going to get Quentin Williams was going to get a extension, that's when everything kind of came to a halt because they pretty much agreed on a deal. So it was already supposed to have been signed.
Then that's understandable. You can make the argument Chris Jones is better than him. He should only rightfully make more. But when it comes down to also the issue is kind of like the Tyreek Hill situation. If you're playing someone this, can a team that's trying to compete for a Super Bowl theoretically pay someone this? Because all we're doing, we're just stacking stuff at the end of the day, and sometimes teams just can't afford it.
Yeah.
And that happens, unfortunately. So
absolutely.
This has been the offseason for defensive tackles, man. Simmons has gotten paid. That, like we talked about a little bit earlier, right? Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans, he got 23.5. Dexter Lawrence from the Giants got paid. Jerron Payne from the Commanders got paid. These guys were getting paid $23 million a year. So I think that, like I brought up earlier, there's that sweet spot that's right there in between him and Aaron Donald, in between the group of guys and Aaron Donald. And I think Chris Jones is going to slap himself there. If you just look some quick math, right? Let's say if Chris Jones makes $26 million a year for 4 years, that's $104 million. You give him $70 million guaranteed. Doesn't that seem like that perfect? You're a little bit above everybody else. You're still below Aaron Donald. Send that forward. That to me seems like the perfect contract that the teams are going to come together. Now, of course, when we're talking about these sort of contracts, it's going to be how is it structured, right? When we talk about team-friendly contracts in the NFL, a lot of it is, I'm not talking about team-friendly being you're taking less money now. What I'm talking about is how is it split up over your 4 years? So the total number that you're going to get is the same. It's just how is that structured to where I can make sure that if I want to make a move in the offseason or in the middle of the year like Kansas City continues to do I have that flexibility moving forward? Is a guy like DeAndre Hopkins waiting for this Chris Jones contract to get done so we can see how much money is available to sign DeAndre Hopkins, so where I can take $10 million available with this Chris Jones contract, slide it over to DeAndre Hopkins, and then we can move forward. Because the NFL is a hard salary cap league. Yep. But we've seen with guys like Brett Veach that you can backload these contracts. You can put some of this, you can have these peaks and valleys in terms of what a cap hit on a player is going to be. So the player's going to get his money either way. Sometimes he gets paid a huge chunk in the third year. Sometimes it gets a little bit front loaded. It just depends on whatever GM and what other circumstances. So I think that's what's exciting about this.
Player things too. So
yeah, I think that's what's exciting about this is that we've all been confident. I don't think there's been anybody significant in Chiefs Kingdom. There's been a significant population of Chiefs fans that were worried this wasn't going to get done. But if this does get done, and I think that does open the door for DeAndre Hopkins coming in here, and we've been talking about that sort of the entire offseason. But this is exciting for Kansas City because we could see some movement, and that's good. I want to keep Chris Jones around. I would hate to see this defense without Chris Jones. JP, you just brought this up. Chris Jones puts up defensive end numbers. But I want to expand on that. He doesn't just put up defensive edge rusher numbers. He puts up elite defensive edge rushers.
Yes.
He is not just an average NFL pass rusher. He is an elite level pass rusher. This guy put up 15 and a half sacks, and you could add like 2 or 3 more from like stupid penalties that got thrown.
Oh, he fell on him. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he almost got to 20 sacks in the regular season. He finally got that first sack in the playoffs. He's got that monkey off his back. Kansas City's going to need pass rushers moving forward. And I think that with Omenihu, with FAU and Karlaftis, I'm not sure what some of these other guys are going to be able to put together. The pressure's still on Jones this year because I know what he's capable of. I know what I need for him moving forward. Let me sign you to a deal. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to be here or not for the remaining of your contract or the remainder of your career. Let's add on 3 or 4 years onto this deal. Let's go, baby. It's football season.
Exactly. And you bring up a great point, Quentin, and something that JP has talked about too. When I first got invested in watching football, and I kind of understand this stuff and kind of looking at the defensive end and defensive line position as a whole, I personally thought it was everyone's job to get sacks. Now, as I studied and figured things out, it just shows you he's multiversatile, multifaceted. He can play anywhere and be successful. And that's why Chiefs fans were so irritated in years past because it's like, oh, he's taking plays off, he's doing this, he's doing that. Well, Chris Jones can only do so much when he's being double teamed and the other guys can't win their one-on-one battles. Now they're in the position where they can win their one-on-one battles, and you can move Chris Jones around. So
you can thank Joe Cullen for a lot of that too. Exactly, because he opened gaps up that nobody else opened up for him.
But what I'm saying is, even when he was clearly one of the best players on the defensive line or just defense as a whole, he was still eating his lunch and taking other people's food. I mean, pretty much what he was doing week in and week out. And
he was stealing lunch money every week. There was no doubt about that.
And for Chiefs fans to get mad, I understand it now, but also I understand from the standpoint is he was by himself trying to figure out and was basically in the conversation of Chris Jones or Aaron Donald. So this is a whole. I mean, it looks like you guys were saying a lot's tied to this move. Philip just put a comment saying that DeAndre Hopkins just commented under Chris Jones' Instagram post. I don't know what's going to happen there. All the speculation on Twitter is going on fire right now as I'm looking through it. But this move could have implications. I'll tell you that. It'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, that I agree with you, JP. This could be done very, very soon. And once it happens, a number of moves could happen as well. So I can't wait. This is going to be a great time. And when Chris Jones resigns, it's gonna be a great day in Chiefs Kingdom.
I agree, and I agree with both you guys. The one thing I will say is Chris deserves to be paid. I'm not going to say he doesn't. There's no doubt about that. And Quentin, you're right. I mean, we talked about this, earlier in the season. We've talked about this over a couple of years. Every year there's a market change. Somebody changes the market for a position. Okay, it just happens. Like this year, wide receivers have been down. Okay, the money wasn't there. Tyreek Hill got a fat contract. In the 2022 season, I guess if we consider 2022 season, and there was a few other guys that got decent contracts during the 2022 season. Now it's like everybody's getting these smaller, 3-year, $30 million deals. Even the big name guys, with the exception of OBJ, which should have never gotten the contract that he got. I mean, $15 million guarantee was stupid. That was wrong for that player. I'm sorry. It was just a desperation move to keep Lamar Jackson on the team. That's what that was. Everybody knows that. But this is it's a market-driven league. And it takes one GM to sign a player to a fat-ass contract that changes the market for everybody. Veach has never been that guy. Now, he did do that. I am going to say something that I was really surprised with was signing a right guard for $80 million, because that's not normal. I mean, he's the only one. I mean, he's the highest paid one in the history of the game. But this may be the time that you see Veach step out of his comfort zone, look at what Chris Jones has done. I do agree that he'll get the highest guaranteed money. Chris flat out said, I don't want to be the highest paid. I just want to be somewhere in that 2 to 4 range. If he's happy being third highest paid in the league, but a higher, getting a bigger
piece of the pie
or bigger guarantee, then that's all fine and dandy. Because Quentin, getting back to what you said, the cap it is a hard cap league, but it's also very fictional. You can manipulate the cap so easily, especially on our team. We've done it so many times. If we if we extend Chris Jones and we say, okay, we will give you $96.5 million over a 4-year period, and we're going to give you $70 million guaranteed, but we want, $45 million of that or $50 million of that being as a bonus structure. And then it doesn't go against the cap. Okay, why not? Because then Clark Hunt's writing a check and it doesn't affect the cap. So who gives a crap? Okay, I mean, that's a very easy scenario to fix that problem. So if they're concerned about how the money is going to come out or who they're going to sign or what they're going to do with that extra cash when they do extend him, that could be an easy way of making Chris Jones happy. He's guaranteed his money because, look, we know for a fact, just like we've talked about Tyreek Hill, yeah, he gets $30 million a year. He ain't getting $30 million a year. That's what it says on paper, but that's not what he's making. And that 4th-year contract is going to be nil, because I promise you they're not going to keep him for that, because it's all backloaded. They're not going to keep him in that 4th year. So they're not going to pay him that money. I'm sorry, but they're just not. They're not going to give him $30 million. Actually, be more than that when it all boils down to it. They're not going to give him that in his fourth year. So why not, if you want to make a player happy, have him retire here, like Thiz said. He does deserve to retire in Kansas City. Then give him a bonus structure on his deal. He's going to meet it, especially with the guys that we just solidified this defensive line. We really solidified this defensive line. We got Joe Cullen that can put him anywhere and make him successful. So he's going to reach his bonuses. Give him that opportunity. He has the faith in the team. The team has the faith in him. Why not do it and move forward? I mean, it's really simple to do. I don't see him going anywhere. I'm really dying to see what the numbers look like. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and that's something like you said. Hopefully, we see this weekend. If it drags on a little next week, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It will get done.
I did hear Monday was the latest, but that's.
I think it'll get done. That's my hope. I mean, like I said earlier, a lot's riding on it. At the end of the day, I think the Chiefs are in a pretty good, valuable position. So, yeah. But speaking of that, there was a documentary that came out Wednesday. I know Quentin had a chance to see it. I got to see it. I know JP, you are about to watch it. Before we start, everyone, please in the chat, give me your opinion on what you watched so far. It can be the whole show or just a couple episodes. Figure we talk about that. My opinions on this, I thought it was very interesting to see. The one thing that kind of irritated me is that you have these fans on Twitter complaining that Mahomes was being too belligerent at times. I don't know if you thought that too, Quentin. But Mahomes, I mean, he's a competitor. So, of course, stuff is going to be said. People like Tom Brady are no saint or any other quarterback. Yeah, so they're no saints either. And obviously, you could say maybe certain times, but it shows he's a competitor, but also so he's very humble at times. And I agree with Scott. The first couple episodes were awesome. I was able to watch the first 4 episodes, and I was like, I'm just going to skim the rest of it from Mahomes because I had to do a bunch of stuff today. I thought it was very awesome to see. I enjoyed it, especially the parts of the Super Bowl, for those who have been able to get to that part, those who are not able to, because you kind of see more than what the NFL mic'd up edition says. So I thought that was great to see. It just showed Mahomes was just a competitor. Now, when it came to the other guys like Kirk Cousins, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, it made him more likable. I see why the Vikings gave him that money. Marcus Mariota, my opinion of him hasn't really changed much. I still think he's not in the best situation. But as a whole, I feel like this sort of series should be done every year, rotating with different quarterbacks. But to see all the things happen with Mahomes throughout the course of the season, I was like, wow, it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. And I feel like they got to do something like this. And I could easily watch 6-7 hours of just kind of do that stuff of him going through with football and kind of see who surrounds him and everything. Because it just shows ultimately he's a competitor. He has so many people around him, and he never gives up. And like he was hurt with his ankle, and he was basically saying to himself, "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt." I mean, that's how much he wants it. So that's all I gotta say there, Quinn. I know you want to say some stuff about it.
Yeah. First of all, I think other sports need to do this with their stars, right? Baseball. Could you imagine this? Following around a guy like Mike Trout or Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge. Highlight some of the best players in their sport, and that would get some back, maybe a younger audience more interested into your sport. I think that should be a thing, is that, do this for other sports and other players. Maybe don't just do this with quarterbacks too. Follow around other guys, other positions, right? And I think you could get, more interested. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here.
Take it away.
Anybody that watched that show and got upset because Patrick Mahomes dropped a couple of F-bombs while he was on the field, get a life.
Thank you.
Because it is so ridiculous that, some Karen is going to watch that and is going to clutch her pearls and say, oh my God, my baby was watching it and he saw Patrick Mahomes cussing. Oh Lordy. It's ridiculous. Stop it. These are the same people.
Yeah.
These are the same people that bitched and moaned that Patrick Mahomes shotgunned a beer during the Super Bowl parade.
Let them celebrate.
It's real life. Knock it off.
But they praised Tom Brady for throwing a real Super Bowl trophy over the Florida Keys.
He's not the next, he's not the second coming of Jesus, okay? He's not perfect in every way.
Football-wise, he may be.
He's a 27-year-old man.
Saying.
Leave him alone. Okay, God, that honestly, I don't get upset by many things on social media, but when I saw people saying that irritated me.
Yes,
that
yes.
Chiefs fans, I'm sorry.
These are Bengals, Bills fans. It's just a bunch of crazy people.
I actually disagree with that. I don't think it's football fans. I think it's people who saw it on Netflix, watched it, and were like, "Oh, Lordy, I can't."
It was rated MA for mature audiences. If you don't want a kid to see, you can easily put on a Pasco to stop it.
That's why we're on this show. Look, man, there's a reason why there are networks like Netflix. There's a reason why there's things like YouTube, because we can say fuck. And if people don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's why it's here.
Well, and here's the issue. It's like, I know you could maybe make the argument that wasn't necessary, but they're playing such a violent game that stuff is coming out. So when Mahomes got so mad when he was hurt that he threw his jacket down, He wasn't fussing at Andy Reid or Bieniemy or Nagy. He was irritated at the situation because he wanted to win that bad for not only the city, but for his teammates. He continually called his teammates brothers countless times in the show. And it just gave me more some respect for him as a leader because it just shows he wants to win and he wants to make sure everyone else is taken care of. And I do agree with you, Quinn. We have people who don't understand how things work and they want to start complaining. Then again, we're also seeing the same people will love Tom Brady, but they will not talk about his faults. And that's a story for another day. We don't need to jump into that because I have a feeling once the 30 for 30 Tom Brady comes out, some people will be appalled with some of the stuff they've heard or seen. But at the end of the day, when we look at this is, I do agree with you, Quinn. They need to do it for multiple sports and do it for different teams or players. Maybe the NFL can do something to where 3 players from each team get a showcase, and they or 3 players and 3 players on a team, 1 team per division. They get a showcase all throughout the year, and they put it, and you can watch it at the end. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see. I would like to see that because you get an idea into your life, and you see this man is not only a football player, but he's a family man. He has 2 kids, and he's doing all these different things while on top of football. That's a lot of things. And also, some people probably realize, oh, I can't just go in the backyard and throw the football. Kirk Cousins, some of the documentary stuff, I don't know if you caught that, Quentin, but he basically said you got to basically know what you're doing and understand the playbook. When they're reading them play calls that were basically 2 lines long, I'm like, yeah. The average person who says they can do that, nah, don't believe them. Because half of them can't even spell Y-O-U-R.
And neither can you, guys.
You know what I'm trying to say. But you know what I'm saying? But that's the issue. It's like we have to understand these players are human. They are human. Things are going to happen. Not everyone's going to have a good day at work or in the football for whatever, but you have to have respect. What we've seen is that individuals who don't understand how things work continue to cut people down when they're not behind the scenes. I mean, Marcus Mariota, he obviously had an issue. For those who get into the season later, there were some issues he had to deal with and had to step away. Not everything's so cut and dry. You see the guy and you throw it at him. So many issues and things come around and cause problems. It's not easy.
You know what? Here's the thing, man.
I want to say one thing really quick. I've heard over the last few years about Mahomes and his competitive drive just from people that we talk to on a daily basis. And anybody that thinks, for anybody to think that that's not or that's abnormal is not a football person. They're not a sports person in general. They should be working in a library because that's normal competitive spirit. I mean, look, man, this guy, he doesn't treat his teammates poorly like Tom Brady did. I mean, look, man, we remember, and I know we don't want to get into this, but I surely remember a couple of Bucs games where Tom Brady went over and called every one of his offensive line a bunch of bitches that couldn't block anything. I mean, throwing tablets and doing the things he does. Mahomes, yeah, he may get pissed off on the field and he may say things he shouldn't say, or some people think he shouldn't say. That's football. That's the way it is. He is the most competitive player I've ever seen next to Derek Thomas. Nobody can deny that. For any Bengals fan or Ravens fan, or especially Bengals and Bills, to whine and cry just because Mahomes threw out the F-bomb or got pissed off when his ankle got hurt and played through it, by the way, that's just jealousy and hate. That's exactly what that is. That's jealousy and hate. And if you look, man, you just have to extend being grace. As good as he is.
You have to extend grace sometimes. Obviously, certain things shouldn't be said in certain situations, but it's all about context. I mean, football is such a violent sport that whatever people kind of shroud themselves in or kind of do, and they try to stop saying certain things, like J.J. Burden, one of the nicest guys we've ever had on the show. I imagine he probably said some things on the football field. It's just basically you're going to war in a way. So it's one of those things. Quentin,
and I got to tell you one thing about JJ. You talk about him, mm-hmm. The man, I've known him for 33 years now. He was the nicest, calmest, most articulate individual you would probably ever meet. But when he was on the field, he was a different guy.
Yeah.
Christian McCoy was the same way. Mm-hmm. Christian Okoye was a big teddy bear. He cried if he hurt somebody on his team. He would get upset. He would, honestly, the guy was just an emotional. He was like the Dick Vermeil of running backs. He would cry when the wind blew. But when he got on the field, he was a different guy. And that's everybody in a sport, they take themselves. I did it in baseball. People do it in boxing. They do it in football. People do it in basketball, for that matter. You take yourself to a different place in your mind when you're actually in the moment. You can't be the dad, the husband, the guy that goes to church every Sunday. You have to be the guy that goes out there and wants to beat somebody down every week. And anybody that plays this sport at an elite level does that. When you see guys that play weak, maybe not make a football, make a complete season or get benched or, whatever the case may be, it's because they're playing weak. You can't go out there weak-minded. That's just how it is. Can't do it. So for anybody to complain, like Quentin said, kick rocks because you don't know shit. That's just part of it. If you don't understand the concept of being competitive in this type of environment, you need to work at Wendy's because the timer goes off, the fries are done. That shit don't happen in football. Get that straight now. All right. Anyway, Quentin, what you got?
I think I'm 2 episodes in. I think what the show has done a great job of, one of the things it's done a great job of, is showing the impact that being a professional athlete has on your family.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a really good job showing the wives, and I don't think Marcus Mariota. I think
he has a
we'll
wife.
just say wives, and just the family in general. So I think that's a really good job because we only see these guys for 3 hours on the football field and then maybe some press conferences, and we don't see the impact that it has. So to see Brittany and Kirk Cousins' wife and Marcus Mariota's wife all talk about sort of the different struggles that they go through, what they have to do in order to support these guys to be professional athletes. I think they did a very good job highlighting that. And I just think that once again, it humanizes some of these people and shows that this is a job, this is a dedication, this is a lifestyle. And
that's the biggest key word right there is lifestyle.
And that it truly does take a village to be a professional athlete.
And another thing to piggyback off that, Quentin, I remember I forgot a player who just got to the Hall of Fame basically had a speech and he thanked his wife and his kids and he said, "Thank you for helping me push through to my career and basically for all the sacrifices." I mean, I understand what he was talking about, but to kind of see that kind of correlation with all these other players now are doing, it's like, wow, Brittany's really worried if Mahomes gets hit. Or Kirk Cousins' wife is saying this game has tied so much to our life. I mean, it's just so much intertwined. So it's not just affecting one person, it's affecting families and other generations of people. And
Absolutely.
to kind of see that, it's very interesting, like, this game is important. These players are people too, so there's no reason to go fuss at them because they didn't get you enough fantasy points or did this. Things are going to happen. I mean, I think a lot of times what people do when it comes to sports players like a LeBron James, a Tom Brady, or anyone, they think they can basically do anything. And if they mess up, it shouldn't happen. Well, unfortunately, last time I checked, Mahomes is human, just like me, just like Quentin, just like JP, like anyone, Tom Brady. Mistakes are going to happen. Mahomes is going to have a 3-interception game. Tom Brady's going to try to catch a pass in the end zone and get stopped or drop a ball. Marcus Mariota's going to fumble sometimes. That happens. They are humans. So I think people need to understand when it comes to football as a whole, things are going to happen. Football, there's luck. There's a lot of good things that happen, but at the end of the day, and that's why I'll leave it like this. You got to show respect to players because they're one of the 3 to 4% of people who made it from Pee Wee all the way up, made it, and are doing what they love to do.
Absolutely.
So I think people need to take that into account.
And the family thing, I agree with both you guys. There's a switch, and you have to be able to turn that switch on and off. You can't, if you lose a game, you can't go home and kick your dog. You can't go home and beat your wife. You can't go home and cuss your kids out. You have to be able to leave your job and be the dad, the husband, the dog owner, the guy that checks the mail just like everybody else in this world. And that's it's the consummate perfectionist, professional, no matter how you look at it. And that's something that nobody that's, I guess, people that haven't played a sport, especially at any
Well,
kind
if
of
you
a high
don't play
level,
at a high level, like I realize
so
now, some
different.
high schools take sports to a high level, so there's a dedication. But if you
Yeah,
don't
definitely
play on
now.
a high level, you're really not seeing how much work is put into stuff on a day in and day out. Not even for, I mean, we talk about the players, and this last thing I'll say before we go on to the next topic, but coaches, they don't see their families a lot of the time. So
Fuck
this
Andy Reid's
game,
wife.
it affects a lot of people. So it just causes a lot of things in the day. So.
Absolutely. Ask Andy Reid's wife. I mean, that's all you have to do. The guy has a cot at Arrowhead. So, I mean, he gets there at 4 o'clock in the morning. He stays there until midnight. Sometimes he sleeps there. It just depends on the situation. This is a guy that's been in the NFL, what, 30 plus years?
He's been around football all his life. He's been everywhere.
So I mean, wives really make a huge sacrifice to stick around. I mean, they really do. That's a difficult thing when you're, I mean, like Brittany. People, they have their thoughts about her, whatever. I don't care. She's taking care of 2 kids, and when Mahomes locks himself in a room at home to study plays, she deals with it. She understands it, and she goes with that because she knows the implications of him not doing that. She knows what it does to him, not only on a personal level, a psychological level, but she knows what it does to the team in the city. And that's where a lot of these wives, they really understand. Some wives don't. Some wives don't care. You know, and if anybody out there watches the Basketball Wives and this wife and that wife, most of that's all bullshit. I mean, it's all for the show. Most of them really do give a shit about what's going on in their husband's life. And they really care about the city that they're living in. They do what they can to help. And they put out as much sacrifice as a football player does, just in a different area, I guess I should say. So, and by the way, really quick, somebody was in one of our group chats complaining about Brittany putting out a tweet about her swimming with a dolphin. I don't know if anybody saw this. I saw it. Who cares? It was a tweet of her swimming with a dolphin.
I mean, it was PETA that complained, so
yeah,
it's not even
they bitch about everything.
I'm not even going to. Let's not even go. Let's not even go down that rabbit hole. It's not.
What a jackass thing to do! They complain to everybody about that. Everybody that gets a dog.
Things.
God forbid you buy a dog.
So.
I mean, you're not supposed to buy a dog. You're not supposed. I mean, who cares? You know, it's you do what you do because you can. If you can't do it, don't bitch. Pretty simple. But that's just how people are. They like to complain. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Do we want to move into our next topic?
Let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, let's
okay,
do that.
So I want to just have a quick little conversation here about which player the Chiefs are going to miss the most. So Kansas City on the offense had a little bit of turnover, not a ton, but a good amount. Kansas City replaced a couple of wide receivers that they lost and a couple of tackles. For any other team, we'd probably be having a totally different conversation about the worries that we had. But the 2 most important players that Kansas City lost on the offensive side of the ball were Orlando Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
They did lose guys like McCole Hardman and Wiley, but which player do you think Kansas City will miss the most heading into the season?
Who you want to go first?
Caleb, you want to go?
Yeah. Are you asking out of those 3 players?
Yeah, just pick an offensive player. Which one do you think Kansas City is going to miss the most?
I got to say Juju. I mean, we all knew what we were getting with Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, didn't have 1,000 yards, but got pretty close. Had a couple long touchdowns, pretty reliable for the most part. I mean, that's the only player I could think personally I knew coming in what we were getting. Because other guys we have now, it's kind of like, it's up in the air. I'm confused. But Juju was able to do a lot and help this team succeed. Guys like Orlando Brown and Wiley, I believe personally have upgraded those positions. I mean, yeah, they were great for the time, but we're moving on to new era in Chiefs football. So obviously they're going to make adjustments there. They did with money, but when it comes to wide receiver, I believe it's Juju. Just do everything he's done throughout the entire season and was able to step in, almost have 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. He did pretty phenomenal. And we're going to fill his loss a little bit if the Chiefs do not bring in another receiver.
I am not going to miss Andrew Wiley at all. He annoyed me beyond belief. Anybody that listens to this show knows that. I have no love lost for him, about as much as I do for Cam Irving. So, if that tells you anything, I do believe we're going to miss Juju Smith, but I really feel like we are going to miss McColl, and this is why. Because if you look at his numbers last year pre-injury, he was one of the highest rated wide receivers on our team at the end of the season. I think he had 6 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, and he only played 40% of the season, 45% of the season. Was injured for a good majority of it, missed a lot of snaps. I just feel like he was coming into his own and he really knew the system. I think he's that guy that he kind of reminds me a little bit of the Alex Smith situation, to where he's starting to come into his own and getting right where he needed to be, and then boom, he's gone, poof. It's kind of like, oh, now he's gone. I do feel like McCole Hardman would have been a lot better this season with the competition and the fact that we spread the offense out so much. I feel like we're going to miss him. I don't care about Orlando Brown. I think we upgraded to that position. I mean, I do. I felt like, for the longest time I defended him because he did only allow, 4 sacks on the season, but his pressure rate was really high. And most of that was because of McKinnon and Mahomes' elusiveness. Wiley just flat out sucked for the majority. I mean, he showed up in the Super Bowl and was terrible and everywhere else. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a wide receiver, and it's either going to be Juju or McColl, and you pick Juju, and I pick McColl for my reasons, but that's about it. What about you, Quentin?
I'm going to piss some people off. But here we go.
Okay.
I think heading into the season, I think Kansas City will miss Orlando Brown the most. And here's why. Jawan Taylor is clearly a great right tackle, pass blocking grades from across everybody. It's been pretty clear that he's a great right tackle. On the left side, Donovan Smith has had a lot of injury history over the last season and into the previous years. And in terms of the wide receiver core, look, we know that Patrick Mahomes can elevate a decent wide receiver core, right? A slightly above average, middle of the pack wide receiver core. This offense still has Travis Kelce. So I'm not really worried all that much about the wide receivers because I know the talent is there, and I know that you have a damn good fallback plan in the best tight end in NFL history. Okay? So with all that aside, we know that Orlando Brown wasn't a great tackle, a left tackle, but I think Orlando Brown, and we talked about this throughout the season, gets more hate just because when he came here to Kansas City, I think he just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, coming in and acting like he was hot shit when he was like the 8th best tackle in the NFL. And there was a pretty good jump from, number 1 to 8. Donovan Smith, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he's going to be when you have as many injuries as he did last year and you're coming into an offense. Now, of course, you can play around one mediocre tackle, right? You have a running back that can block. If it comes down to it, you can give help with a chip block by tight end. You could run some of your plays away from the left tackle if you have an elite pass rush over there, right? There are ways you can play around it. I'm not saying Donovan Smith's going to come out here and just have garbage stats, right? He's not going to be the worst tackle in the NFL. I'm not saying that by any means. But what I am saying is that there's a chance that at the start of the year, Donovan Smith is not going to look good, and he's going to be the weak point of this offense. And there's a chance that there's going to be some people wanting Orlando Brown back.
Okay, I only have one rebuttal to that, and I think the only thing I have to say to that is I do agree with you in some ways. We don't know the Nobody can predict the future, so that's irrelevant. We can say that about anybody on this team. But his injuries were it was the same injury. Okay, so part of that is rushing somebody back in when they're not ready to play. When they're not 100%, even if they're not 80%, sometimes they get put back in. A lot of that had to do with that when it came to him. But he was if you listen to Brady, that has no skin in the game, he was one of his favorites. So out of all the guys that he played with at that position over the 22 years that he played football, I feel like with our medical staff and the way we groom players, I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's not a bad player by any means.
No, he's not.
He's actually very good. He's actually, if you really think about it, if he was 100% healthy, he's better than Orlando Brown. But I understand what you're saying about the health thing. I just feel like he wasn't so much injury prone. It was a nagging injury that kind of never went away.
Yeah.
It was the same thing over and over and over again because he never really got the time to heal. I mean, look at what happened to their offensive line.
It fell apart.
It fell apart one by one, and then he kept getting put back in, and he would get re-injured. Then, 3 weeks later, he's back in. Yeah. So I think maybe a change of scenery and a good medical staff and the way we are able to, with a good surrounding cast, it may help him in a lot of ways.
I'll say this that I also wanted to bring up. It takes a while to get into this offense, to get into the groove of it. And so we saw that with Brown. So there's a chance that Donovan Smith gets off to a little bit of a slow start as well. Now it helps that, Tooney's been in this offense a while, so the guy standing next to him can help him.
Yeah.
But I just think that there's a good chance that this offensive line isn't going to hit the ground running. And there's going to be some people bitching about this offensive line. And I need that to be out into the airways so people can understand that moving forward.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance, and a pretty good one, that once again, this offensive line gets off to a slow start. Now, by the end of the year, it could be kicking ass and taking names, right? It could be, one of the best offensive lines, and we could be talking about, how Patrick Mahomes is going to have a century and a half to throw the ball. But at the start of the season, I think we just need to be ready to take a deep breath and realize that this offensive line is not going to be playing up to its standards.
And another point.
Hold on a minute, really quick. You know who this is. This is Chiefs Kingdom. Nobody takes a breath.
Everybody. I am assisting any mental health experts out there whose numbers tend to rise during Chiefs season. Okay.
God, I mean, you know how many people are on blood pressure medication now?
I probably should be on blood pressure medication. I'm 24 years old.
Yeah. So
you guys stress too much over the game. I'm at the point where I'm happy, but I'm not going to let it oh no.
Yeah. I look at it from a Frank Clark situation, and I say it like this. How many people for 3 straight years just hated on Frank Clark? Oh my God, that contract sucked. Who the hell would ever give a guy that kind of money?
Don't bleed over into next week's topic where we're talking this exact
I know.
I'm
just saying. All I'm saying is, people are going to do the same thing they did with Frank Clark, and then if for some reason he's gone, man, I wish Frank was back. God, I miss Frank. I love Frank. Hold on, I got to delete those other 7,400 messages I put out that he was trash. Now I really miss Frank. That's just how it is. I mean. Anyway, what were you going to say, Caleb?
All I was going to – I honestly don't remember my point.
Sorry.
Honestly. No, you're good. I mean, at the end of the day – I know what I was going to say. Anytime Veach has reconstructed something, it takes a little bit of time. If you look at the Chiefs' defense, first 8 weeks, it takes some time. Then it got down to 3 or 4 weeks. And JP woo, because the last 3 years we've been doing this, it takes about half the season. Offensive line, I agree with Quentin, it's going to take probably about a quarter of the season. We may see a little bit more issues. Mahomes running for his life. Maybe just a little bit, but I expect things to be tightened up. Now, I imagine that, like Quentin was saying, Thuney is going to help the guy we have at left tackle. So it's going to work out at the end of the day. I am curious to see how long it will take for this team as a whole to figure out progression, all those things. But I'm not worried. I just see it from the wide receiver room because I remember them days when Mahomes had some players, but some of the people weren't there and they just didn't score. But everyone has made a great point, and that just shows it's not just one area that needs to focus on. That's why you have to rekindle and retool other areas. Because if you focus on one area and ignore other areas, pretty soon everything else is about to break down. So
well, here's what Phillips said. He said, "I disagree, Quentin. We improved the O-line for cheap compared to last season. Mahomes will have more time in the pocket. He'd be, he'd be eating hot pockets back there. You never know. He might have a chance to have Brittany bring him down a hot dog while he's waiting to find somebody open. We don't know what he's going to do. We do know that
it'll be a little slow, and we just need to expect that.
It may be, and look, there's no argument about that. I mean, I don't think that it's going to start off gangbusters in those two. Oh, I take that back. On the left side,
yeah,
I don't believe for 1 second Taylor's going to be a freaking animal compared to what we had. He's good, and he's versatile. He can play both sides. We know that. So if there is a little bit of an issue with Donovan Smith, we got a quality backup right tackle. We move Jawaan Taylor over. Mm-hmm. It's not that, we're pretty stacked in depth on the offensive line. It's not like we don't have a group of guys there that can step in and play.
But even whenever the Chiefs, like example, the Chiefs defense, when we rehauled it, got rid of individuals such as slipping my mind. D Ford offsides. We got rid of guys like him. We brought in Tyron Mapper. We brought in Frank Clark. It still took them some time. Mm-hmm. So I think, this isn't Madden, and obviously people know this, but I think sometimes, not us collective, but general people who are just kind of casuals don't realize this is not Madden where I can just throw a bunch of players on a team and go. There's some things that happen. There's a reason why there's off-season training. There's OTAs. There's training camp. There's all these means and things happen, so people know what they're doing. In Madden, it's all preset. I mean, you pretty know what's going to happen from the get most of the time. So I think sometimes people need to take a step back and be like, my hope is that the Chiefs make it here at the beginning of the season, but realistically, it may be here for the time being. But I still think they can get to here or maybe even extend it. So
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I've got one final topic, pretty quick. The ESPYs were last night, the ESPN Sports Awards.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes won everything.
The Chiefs cleaned up. I am surprised they cleaned up because, this is not just he won best NFL player, best male athlete. I'm not surprised about the NFL player. They should just give that to the MVP winner. I don't understand how you could not win that. The best male athlete I'm surprised about. And I'm surprised the Chiefs won best team because I figured that was going to go to the Denver Nuggets because of the season that they had. Because that's not an NFL award. That's a sports award. Yeah. So I thought that was going to go to the Denver Nuggets. But once again, I think it just shows you the respect that the sports writing community has for Kansas City, just on a broad basis. That while there's articles that come out that are just wrong and dumb, but that's from a very minute group. And if you take a grand look at things, I think that Kansas City is going to continue to get more respect. I think we're sort of over that, the hump of where it's like, oh, look at this, fun team with Patrick Mahomes and his weird way of throwing the ball. And then it starts to come down a little where people start to get a little bit over it. I think we're starting to come back because of that second Super Bowl where people are like, oh, this is for real. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's like that Patriot effect, right? Where it's like, oh, look at the Patriots. They weren't very good for 20 years. They got this young guy in. Oh, look, they won a Super Bowl. And then it's like, oh, are they for real, though? And people started to come down on him. They win more, and it's like, okay, now you have to take them for real until there's a significant change in for the team. And so I think we're coming back on that peak, and that's where it'll sort of level off on the mountaintop until something significantly changes, whether that's coach or whatever. So,
well, here's the thing with I will say this between the Denver Nuggets and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Nuggets that was an anomaly that they had the season they had.
That's why I expected them to win Team of the Year because
I know, but I don't. I think the reason we did was because we had 10 rookies on our football team and won a Super Bowl. We had a quarterback that played on one leg and won a Super Bowl, through the playoffs. There's so many variables there, where the Denver Nuggets, they came out somewhat mediocre, got a little stronger, got a little weak again, got a little stronger, made it through the playoffs. I feel like they look at the Chiefs as like, wow, okay, if this team as an organization can take 10 rookies and a hobbled quarterback at the end of the season and still win a Super Bowl, who the hell who can rival that?
Yeah.
Because there's never been a football team in the history of the NFL that had 10 active rookies and 7 that played throughout the season and won a Super Bowl. That's never happened. So, and really, honestly, I mean, we could go back and go, okay, well, let's see. The 49ers went through 4 quarterbacks and couldn't make it through the playoff game with the number 1 defense. We had the 11th and a weaker schedule. We had the 11th overall defense at the end of the season and 10 rookies and a hobbled quarterback and won the Super Bowl. So I think that's probably what people are looking at going, no shit, these guys are for real. There's nobody better than them. I mean, they all look like, they look, man, Pacheco was more excited than I think I've ever seen anybody. I mean, the guy was just so happy to be there. Mahomes just was being Mahomes. I've never seen him look so. He was just pimping it. I mean, dude had a suit with no shirt. He was pimping it out. He Kelsey was being Kelsey. And I will say this for everybody out there that thinks Kelsey's ready to retire, he's nowhere near it. Anybody that thinks he's ready to go, you better think twice because he's not. He's enjoying this ride too much. And he's going to do everything he can to keep himself in phenomenal condition to stay on this field as long as he can. He wants to play with Mahomes. So they won pretty much everything, and that's, I agree with you. They're over that hump. They're over that, that they finally reached the top of the mountain. And people are realizing this is not a joke. This is not a team to slouch on. This is not a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year wonder. Their window's not closing. Mm-hmm. So be prepared.
Yeah, and that's the thing I'll say before we end it. This team, like you said, has reached the mountaintop. They're basically looking down they're at the top of the mountain, looking down at the bottom, seeing everyone try to come up and try to get them. I mean, yeah, you talk about the football success, but the team has been pretty much well-managed on and off the field, and that's probably one of the things that those voters have looked into as well. But also, you have the Mahomes effect. I mean, everyone likes Mahomes. What's not to like about him, besides the other people who don't, regardless, it is what it is. But I think it just shows you how much the organization puts in their self-image. Yeah, I guess you could say draft picks at certain times were not team-friendly, this, that, and third, which we do not need to get into. But in the day, the Chiefs, for an always team, they always have guys that are in competition. Walter Payton, man of the year, is always in the final. They're always trying to do the right thing. Clark Hunt always is making sure to pay his individuals, people who work for him, good money, specifically the medical staff. And lastly, we see they're always giving and trying to help. And that seems to translate to success on the football field, how you treat people and also getting stuff back in return. And I think as a whole, when we look at these things, we see, obviously the success, it's not just the players, it's also the building, it's the building a culture, if you will. A culture of what's everyone to buy in. When people start buying and seeing things happen around them, they're like, this is something special that we have not seen before.
I agree with you. I mean, it's just something that we didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, I sometimes I sit here and I look at the old 2010 Chiefs highlights just to remember the bad times. Like, you don't have to remember that anymore. You see Alex Smith on the 49ers. You see the games where the Chiefs would win 16-14 and they got no offensive touchdowns, but Brandon Flowers got a pick 6, or Terrence Mitchell does something crazy, or D Ford or whatever. And you're like, wow, that used to be us. We're not winning games 10-3. We're winning games 38-22 or things like that, which I'll be honest with you, and this will be my last thought, I promise. When I saw the Chiefs complete a 3rd and long with Mahomes, I was like, oh my goodness, we can do it, because for the longest time, and no shade to Al Smith, but it was like 3rd and long, all right, I'm going to the bathroom, I'm going to get some chips, because you knew what was going to happen. But
we did that on a 3rd and 3 most of the time.
Yeah. So, but
I mean, I love Alex, but I mean, that
Yeah,
was just the truth.
we
So,
knew it was coming. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree. It's just, it's amazing, and it's awesome to see. And I don't see our window's not closing. So, and I think everybody else is noticing that as well. And I agree with you. Most people love Mahomes. The only people that don't love him are the fans that don't have him. And that's really what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. You know what, Quentin, what have we always talked about? It's always great to be hated when you're that damn good. And we are the new Patriots when it comes to that. We're hated because we're good. We're hated because we win. The difference is that we have a better quarterback, really a better head coach, and a better system all the way around, a better organization. So we're in good shape. Anyway, we appreciate everybody for joining. I want to thank Manscaped for putting the show on, or sponsoring the show, I should say. And also, there's a new article out. Check out ChiefsFocus.com. Foco Sports has put out a line of gear for the upcoming season. Pretty cool stuff, tailgating stuff. Check it out. The article's up now. A couple other articles just came out. Make sure you check that out. And we will talk to you guys again on Tuesday. Peace out, everybody.